Hello and welcome back to Soul. So, yeah, I'm going to continue on with this campaign. So, a lot of people have been wanting me to play the game rather than just showing me continuing on from where we left off last time. So, I'm going to try to do it this way, and we'll see if people like this or not. But yeah, I'm going to just continue on like I usually would. Okay, right. Maybe not the dire wolves. Yeah, this is a bit of a bad army. I'm going to restart this, and then obviously we can hopefully get a better re-roll this time in terms of units. Right then, so let's do this again, I guess, and let's see what we have over here. So again, it's really bad for us, isn't it? I mean, it's slightly better, but not great. So yeah, I'm going to restart this as well. So this is... Right then, let's go for attempt 3. Come on. Oh my gosh. Right then, so let's try this again for the 4th time. Let's see. So, I guess I'll go for spears and come on. Oh, dread knights. Okay, yeah, cool. This should be a good start. I mean, having two, I guess... anvil units and then maybe like a hammer with the knights. We'll see how well this goes, won't we? But yeah, this is just a bit unfortunate that I just kept getting the exact same unit combinations that I literally just had a game with. So yeah, I'm gonna try to avoid that, and obviously I also have to fix this because yeah, unfortunately we start off in a rather bad unit. And let's see, we want to end up over here at the top, so we'll go for this bottom path and then we'll make our way up. That's the plan. This will be just So yeah, this will be a single episode. So hopefully we can, actually complete this in less than 40 minutes. Otherwise, this is going to be a really long episode. But we'll see. What we. So I'm gonna wait over here because I really don't have a need to move up to the enemies. And yeah, now with my knight having more movement, I can hopefully get us side charging on these Goblin Wolf Riders, because yeah, the Goblin Wolf Riders are quite a scary unit. They're so much better than the dire wolves, but they are a lot more expensive in multiplayer. So obviously that's the downside if you want to use them. So yeah, comes at a greater cost, but they are a better unit just in general. I want to end up somewhere like over here and then maybe turn. I mean, this is just not good, is it? So it just can't be done. It can't be done. There's no way for me to go around this. So, while I'm here, I guess I'll talk about some stuff about Fantasy World, and specifically why it would be terrible to live in a fantasy world. So, I just wanted to talk about this because I had some funny talking points, just wanted to talk about it. And one of the main things that I just thought of was the fact that, it's bad enough getting like a bird to poop on your car. Imagine if it's like a dragon or something like that. So, it'll be so much worse, The local griffin, just casually causing mayhem, and also because all the creatures are like super smart as well, it'll cause even more problems because the local griffin can now remember people that were mean to it. Remember that baker that didn't share any bread with it? Oh, well, now the baker's gonna be chased endlessly by the griffin. So yeah, stuff like that is just I feel like that's quite a funny concept, isn't it, for a fantasy world? Just a story about a bunch of I guess normal person's life in a fantasy world, how they just get along. So like if you have like an infestation in your basement, it's something like giant rats. It's never like ordinary rats. It's always like maybe like even goblins start living in your basement, and it doesn't have to be like the non-intelligent goblins. It could also be like a full-on almost a type of like a immigrant type of situation, if you get what I mean. Where like the goblin can't find a place to stay in the empire, so he just starts squatting in random peasants' houses and stuff like that. And then you have to get like an eviction notice for the goblin in the basement. Yeah, so stuff like that. It's just really funny fantasy world concepts, I guess. Let's do something like this. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, yeah, I could probably get a side charging on the goblins over here. I mean, what point is there? I don't know. Let's hope that the Dread Knights do well over here, because yeah, they're quite a strong unit. Yes, they do in fact do well. That's very nice. But also partially it has to do with luck as well, because they only have 4 skills, so it could have definitely gone poorly for them, that's for sure. Right then, and let's continue, I guess, charging over here. So yeah, stuff like that, and giant rats and stuff like that. Zombies are a big problem in fantasy worlds. Every single time you try to go and visit a loved one. You either have to, cremate them, or, you just have to expect that every single time you visit the graveyard, there's either a necromancer trying to make them rise from the dead again, or they're just straight up, among the living again. So yeah, there's no in between. I'm really surprised that the spear, skeleton spears failed there, I guess. Yeah, this is my nightmares about the undead units are coming true, They're just never good whatsoever. So yeah, let's see what else do we have over here. So yeah, like gnomes and stuff like that, like fantasy fairies and stuff like that. Them just casually causing mayhem. Everyone thinks it's fun and games to be sprinkled on with some anti-gravity dust until they start flying away into outer space. Now imagine if a fairy decides to, you know, like fly over a large gathering of people or something like that and just sprinkle their dust everywhere. What a nightmare that would be. You know, you 1 minute you're having like a dance party in the town square, the next you're just flying off. You know, dragons would be a massive problem. Although to be fair, I feel like if it's like the sentient type of dragons, they'll just be the tax collectors. You know, the king would just be hiring dragons to do his taxes and to collect taxes because nobody's gonna, you know, tell the dragon that they don't have enough money to pay their taxes this year. And considering how long they live and, you know, how good their memory is, they'll probably be charging you taxes on something that your ancestor did like 5 generations ago. You know, remember that bakery shop that failed? Yeah, you still haven't paid the kingdom the taxes on the, you know, like 1,000 gold coins that you earned from the bakery shop when it went bust. So yeah, stuff like that is just really interesting. But then on the alternative part, like, how do dragons poop? Do they also poop while flying? Is that a thing? You know, is it kind of like a whale bath where, you know, like whale puke goes for a high price in the, what do you call it, in the perfume industry? So is it the same with dragon puke? How does that work? Which animals do we consider valuable? Are unicorn pukes worth anything? You know, how does that work? You know, do you get some extra money for bringing in a unicorn, or is it just kind of like are unicorns just like an everyday occurrence that, you know, and you can't legally take them because they're considered sentient? How does that work? Does the kingdom use the undead for free labor? Do like the families of the undead get paid for the undead's labor? How does that work? You know, can just anyone become a necromancer? Is it just like one angry wizard is like one step away from just putting a bunch of magical energy into the undead and creating an undead uprising or something like that? Like, how does the world work? I'm just gonna do a frontal charge on these zombies. To be fair, the zombies and the skeletons really don't have that much difference between them. Yeah, it's just not looking good for me, is it? No, it's really not. Just one power difference is all it takes for a unit of zombies to suddenly become something else. So we'll see how this goes, won't we? I'm just gonna move back slightly and then maybe get a side charge in. Maybe not. Wow, yeah, this is, as always, is very awkward. Mainly because I have to get an angle, and man, I just do a frontal charge. It doesn't really matter. I mean, these sort of problems are just not great. I would have liked to get 2 cavalry units, but as you can see, my hopes are not exactly the same as what the reality is. We'll see how this goes. Hypothetically speaking, the White Lord should absolutely demolish the zombies, but considering that the zombies just get lucky from time to time and they get crazy good saves, it's also potential that I just lose. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Hopefully good rolls for me, that's what I hope for. Okay, yeah, the zombies are getting obviously crumbling damage is very nice. And then let's hope I save. 3 damage went through. Wow, that's painful. And now they're going to charge it to the side of the Dread Knight, so okay. Yeah, this is just really awkward, isn't it? The Dread Knights being absolutely, you know, beaten by the zombies is not something I would have had on my bingo card for this playthrough. But yeah, let's see what else have I got to talk about. So yeah, like, what would people even keep as pets? Because, you know, in a fantasy world, you know, you buy like a rabbit for your farm and it turns into like something like you know, one of those mythical rabbits where they got horns on their head or something like that. You know, how does that work? You know, is there like a commercialized unicorn farm? Is that a thing as well? If you know, commercialized dragon leather, sustainably sourced dragon leather, is that a thing? Are there, you know, do the elves have like an initiative, and they consider it to be like a really effective program for reintroducing dragons into the wild, and it's just like everyone else is thinking like they introduce 1 dragon a century, and the elves are like, that's highly effective. We're changing the world 1 dragon at a time. How does this work? What happens when you pollute the rivers? Do you just have like an army of like mermaid people come out and attack you? No, oh, the kingdom has to pay reparations after a failed war against the sea kingdoms for dumping all of their waste into the sea. You know, like the city of London would not do well in a fantasy world, that's for sure, considering how much pollution it gives off. Yeah, would have definitely been burnt down by some sort of like fantasy mermaid people race, that's for sure. So yeah, what else is there to think about, I guess? I mean, you could leave like a comment down below on what sort of fantasy races you think would definitely not go as expected, you know. Something like the orcs being bouncers would be quite cool, you know, for like discos and stuff like that in like a modern fantasy setting. But then, you know, what would the elves do, I guess? Would they just be like the stock traders, you know? that they would be, you know, I guess they wouldn't be necessarily the accountants of the, because they already said that the tax collector is going to be the dragon, so technically that would be the, you know, like the money hoarding races, that would be that. But would the, you know, elves just be the hippie race, you know? But then it would depend as well. The high elves could be like the bank accountants, but then the wood elves would quite literally be like the hippies, wouldn't they? That should get the Goblin Wolf Riders to out with my Dread Knights. You know, yeah, the White Lord is getting good saves, I'm not going to lie, but overall this is just a terrible game, that's for sure. Like, I've just been getting absolutely awful rolls, and I just want for me to get some good rolls eventually. And yeah, we'll see how this goes, won't we? The goblins over there, I'm just going to continue kiting them because there's no reason for me to engage with them. You know, the dwarves would obviously be the industrial type, as always. But what unexpected role could they also fit? Well, I mean, what could they do? I guess that would not be expected out of them. The mining, they're already kind of like almost modern industrialists, I guess. But like maybe architects or something like that for modern cities. Like the dwarves definitely do seem like they got like the hang of building, kind of like not necessarily beautiful buildings, but like sturdy buildings. So, you know, obviously like dwarven keeps and stuff like that definitely do have that sturdiness to them. Maybe like skyscrapers would be built by the elf architects, and then, you know, obviously the dwarves would be building more or less, you know, bunkers and things like that. You know, maybe factories focusing on efficiency and, you know, durability over anything else. There was that joke on the internet where like what was it? It's like a dwarf that like sells knockoff goods, but the knockoff goods are for dwarfs. So, you know, like really bad shoes, but, you know, they'll last a human's lifetime or something like that. So jokes like that. So maybe like a scrupulous elf that like says you're gonna get high returns on your investment, and it's like 5% returns on your investment, which is, according to elf law, it's like really low, but everyone else thinks it's quite high. Or maybe it's like the elf thing gives you like a 50% return on your investment, but it's in like 50 years or something like that. You know, and he thinks that's acceptable because he's just an elf. Although considering how money accumulates over time, it'll probably be a lot more. It'll probably be like 100% because, yeah, I don't know. You know, how would trends change? Would you just casually have people in like Victorian clothes just walking around? Would it be like elves in like leather walking around while there's also like humans in business suits? Like, how would that work? You know, what would be the benefits of this? Would people, you know, still be like on their like dragon riding license when they're like flying planes or something like that in a modern fantasy world? You know, back in my day, I got my driving license on a dragon, and then you just casually see the entire, you know, like I guess back row of the airplane gasp because they're, you know, I guess pilots don't know how to fly modern day planes. They only know how to fly dragons and stuff like that. So that would be a really interesting setting, I guess. Yeah, I really need these skeleton knights. Screw the zombies. I don't need the zombies. The zombies can go and rot somewhere else. I don't care about them. Yeah, additional defense on the Dread Knights is really nice. And then I'm basically broke after that. So let's see what we have over here. Okay, right, rerolls. I really do need rerolls on these guys. Divine Protection, yeah. On the Dread Knights, yeah, definitely a really powerful pick. We'll see how that goes. You know, would there be like you know, like a little conglomerate of, you know, I guess wizards? You know, would wizards unionize against the government? Like, how would that work? I'm gonna move these guys up so that they get charged by the direwolves. Oh well, not direwolves, but the wolf riders, which are on wolves. It's really weird. It's the same size as the direwolves, but the direwolves have less wounds. How does that work? Just such a weird concept, isn't it? Which one? Oh, my lord is in that unit. Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna move these guys up so that they get charged by the trolls, and then I can get a side charge on the trolls. So yeah, we'll see how that goes, won't we? And then that's it. This is nice. Get a side charge on these Goblin Wolf Riders, and obviously give the benefit to the Dread Knights, and then obviously they can, you know, like move past, I guess. Okay, save this. Oh wow. Yeah, the skeleton spears there. They're not doing too well, are they? Would the undead eventually unionize? How does that work? Because one would think that the, you know, sentient undead would actually start to unionize. Would they not? It's like the Waits and the Necromancers and the Liches, they'd be like, we also work overtime even though they're technically undead. So they, intellectually speaking, they, you know, don't need to sleep, therefore they can't work overtime, but they want to be paid overtime. How does that work? I guess these sort of questions is something that nobody ever asks, you know. I mean, what? Yeah. Would there still be, you know, like people trying to take over the world in like a modern fantasy setting? You know, but this time it'll be just like corporate greed rather than, you know, an actual person trying to use armies or anything like that. Because he's like, would the undead become even more deadly then? Because if you can get like an undead outbreak happening in the city, would that be a lot worse? I feel like that would be so much worse if somebody could just get like an army of undead. Because, you know, the more they kill, the more power they get. So if you could get like an undead, you know, I guess army going, that would be absolutely awful. We'll see how this goes. I'm pretty sure the Weight Lord's going to lose a bunch of his retinue. All these other skeletons are just disposable at this point. They're just so bad. It's genuinely unbelievable. I don't even know what they're even doing anymore because they're just so bad. Like, seriously, I constantly have to keep taking replenishment on them because they constantly keep dying. It's like, stop dying for once. Come on, please. I really need to get some money. We'll see how this goes. Let's hope that, you know, I can make something work out of this, because technically the undead are, those undead are better than necessarily the, you know, I guess the direwolves, because they can at least hold the line. Direwolves can in fact revolt because they're technically alive, so I don't know. These undead should be better, you know, having the anvil for our hammers, strikes, the military tactic. But again, they still die, don't they? So, you know, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Who knows? I can't believe the trolls came back. That's a problem for later, I guess. But yeah, I guess that they also take replenishment on any wounds that they basically aren't fatal. So yeah, basically if they have 3 wounds and per model, and if basically if the model doesn't die, then it just regenerates fully. So I guess that's something to keep in mind. You know, is there going to be like animal cruelty in a fantasy world? You know, I guess there has to be, isn't there? Well, like, how would that work when you could have like a dragon that could unionize against you? How would that even work with a dragon? I mean, imagine if a dragon just knows the law better than you do, and it just proceeds to sue you into oblivion. So I don't know. Would knights even be a thing in that sort of situation? I don't know. What about carriages? You know, everyone sees like a carriage being pulled by, you know, by like horses, but what if a carriage was pulled by something sentient, like a unicorn or something like that? So if unicorns were sentient and they pulled carriages, would that be taxed as a human pulling your carriage, or would that be taxed as like an animal pulling your carriage? Because, you know, would it count like more like a taxi, or would it count more like a chauffeur? Like, how would that work? Because you know, it's kind of like those in like medieval times where the rich would get carried around by the peasants in Eastern Asia. You know, how would that work? But like in Japan, where they used to have the wealthy aristocrat class used to be quite literally carried in like wooden boxes. So, you know, a lot of people would usually look at a person's feet when they were dealing with them, because usually the poor people would obviously have muddy feet and stuff like that. Meanwhile, the rich would obviously be carried around all day and would therefore have pristine, obviously, quality of shoes. So, stuff like that. How would that work in like a world where unicorns were sentient, where you could get like a dragon lift? Can you imagine like an Uber but with dragons? How would that work? Would it be like for like would it be like a high quality service, or would it be like a cheap service that you get because the dragon has basically gone broke and they really need some quick cash or something like that? Would dragons be considered like a bus service if they did do these sort of services? Would a dragon? Yeah, because obviously the dragons can get quite loud, so shouldn't it be classified as like a bus service? Wouldn't that have like completely different health and safety regulations? Because obviously you're transporting a lot of people, so you would obviously need a completely, I guess, different regulatory system to make sure that how this works. If you're like riding a sentient creature, do you need a seatbelt, or would it classify as like a piggyback ride? Would it work like an airplane where you have to put the seatbelt on, or is it just quite literally, the dragon is giving you a piggyback ride? How would you even tax that? Do the dragons only take payment in cash so that nobody can track their transactions? What else is there to talk about? I guess I'm going to charge this guy in the back, and obviously, charging the side there. So then the enemies, I don't think they could turn around when you do this. You either charge 2 on the side, or you charge 1 on the back and 1 on the side, or like 1 on the side and 1 on the front, or one on the back and 1 on the front. But that defeats the point if you charge them in the front. The main point is the fact that they can't turn around if you charge them from 2 separate directions that don't include the front. So we'll see how that goes, won't we? I really hope I do well over here. The fact that we're winning against the Deep Guard is very nice, but it is the Deep Guard, so I am still quite scared. Obviously, they still got the Dwarf Foreman over there. So we'll see how that goes, won't we? And yeah, obviously these Whitebeards, Dwarf Veterans are really scary. Well, I'm not gonna lie, if we get bad rolls here, this is GG. So we'll see how this goes, won't we? I really hope we do get good rolls though, because I really don't want to deal with this for too long. I mean, it's just drawing against the Deep Guard is very lucky for us. And these skeletons were able to get such good lucky hits on the Dwarf Warriors. That was very nice indeed. The Dwarf Veterans are a draw. That was, I don't know what I expected out of that. Obviously, the Dwarf Warriors survived their morale check, and obviously, let's go for something else. So, I guess in a fantasy world, I guess patterns would be a big problem, would they not? So, like, the long-lived races, would they constantly just keep renewing their patterns and be like, this pattern is only like 2 generations old. What are you on about? We should still be able to use it. It's like two dwarf generations or something like that. So you can't actually use the pattern for any human, and it's been like 5 human generations and everyone's still trying to get their hands on, like a car or something. Because the dwarven, engineers constantly keep sewing everyone into the ground. How would that work? Come on, that's so bad. Give me that. Come on, stop giving me bad rolls. Like, what? Yeah, that's so bad. And yeah, of course, the Dwarf Foreman survives it. Come on, these guys, I'm really surprised that the Dwarf Veterans are just causing so much problems for me. Like, come on, the Dread Knights have to get some good rolls. Like, seriously, they do have Divine Favor, so they get rerolls, so that obviously makes them very strong, but, like, I really just want them to actually get their hits off, because this is I just don't want to sit here for, like, 5 hours watching my units roll dice and continually fail, and, yeah, it's just not good, in my opinion. Cool. Wow. At least the enemies are rolling their morale checks. Maybe not. Oh, wow. So, I mean, what else have we got for wheels, I guess? Would technology like space age technology be a lot faster? Would we have how would that even work? What would aliens be like? What would you even consider an alien? I mean, I'll just, who do I want to charge? I'll charge in the ordinary soldiers because I get a bonus regarding their hand weapon and shield. But yeah, what would aliens be? Would it be like a Cthulhu monsters or something like that? That would be considered aliens in this world? Like, how would that work? It's always usually easy to run past, but I guess not in this case. yeah, I could do something. We'll see how the hitboxes are. If the impassable building actually blocks me, or if I can actually squeeze in there. But yeah, how would the actual building materials work? You know, would there be like would there be like stone buildings right next to skyscrapers? Because obviously you'd have like elves living in buildings in what used to be the outskirts of a city, but it just expanded like 10 times while they were alive. So you just have, I guess, like the Pixar movie Up type of situation where you just have these elven brick homes right next to skyscrapers or something. Or would the elves be like cashing out on their investments on property? You know, how would that work? I really don't want to go against the Deep Guard, I'm not going to lie. Should I just continue charging the Dwarf veterans in the back? Because I just don't really want to, I guess, go after the Deep Guard. I guess these guys should also get the benefit of Lance and Shield, which is 2 power after a charge. So I really hope that this goes well for me. We'll see, won't we? Obviously it's going to be awkward because probably a side charge from the Deep Guard and then a front charge from the Dwarf Foreman, or maybe just a side charge from the Deep Guard. Okay. Right, yeah, sure, why not? Why not? This is going to be a problem, isn't it? I just hope that my, you know, additional Divine Protection is going to save me here. Now, the good thing is that we haven't taken much damage from anyone else, but, like, come on. This is just taking forever. Oh, that's so bad. That's bad. And they're routing the center. That's the only good thing. Wow. Yeah, okay. This has been a long battle, that's for sure. Yeah, dwarfs going against the undead is just an absolute meat grinder. At least they're routing. At least they're routing. Wow. Cool. This has eventually worked out for me, but I would not recommend that you try this out. Definitely not one of my more fun battles, that's for sure. I'm going to just have to take replenishment on everyone because this has been ridiculous. And obviously the knights for some reason don't take replenishment, because why would they? Why would they take replenishment? So yeah, yeah, I guess I have to take this additional movement speed because I'm trying to get the replenishment and unit size on these guys. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to get over here. Yeah, so we'll go into an ordinary battle and then move up rather than down, which is really nice. Right, so fighting against the bandits, so they obviously have the light cavalry, which we'll see how we deal with that. They do have 2 cavalry units, which also these Imperial Knights. Let's see. So I'm just wondering, because in the fantasy world, would also like fantasy sports be popular? So you know, we'll have like modern day football, and then obviously right next to that we could have like jousting or something like that as the #1 sport. You know, I guess that would be really fun, wouldn't it? I wish jousting was more popular as well. You know, it's kind of boring watching football. You know, it's a lot more fun to watch people joust. You know, the Royal Armories does like jousting tournaments from time to time. And it's always just so much more fun watching a bunch of knights just charge at each other with lances. You know, a lot more. That's a physical object. I can't. Wow, that rock is so annoying. It's screwing me over. I really don't like that rock. There we go. We'll see what. That's a side charge. I don't know why the Imperial Light Cavalry did that. But yeah, that is a side charge on us. I'm guessing history would be a lot harder to forget, wouldn't it? If every single time you were like, you know, my grandpa as a human, you know, or my great-great-grandpa used to serve in the Great Undead Wars or something like that. And then you just have the Weight Lord or something like that used to quite literally raise the undead or the Lich, and he was like, yes, I remember exactly who he was. He was the guy who sprayed the highly combustible magical flames on me. You know, that's why I lost my arm. But luckily, I replaced it with your grandpa's arm after he died last year or something like that. Now, stuff like that, yes. I mean, be kind of morbid, wouldn't it? Yeah, try to get a bunch of side charges off and then we'll see how that works. It's a bit of a shame that they're getting a side charge off on me, but I guess I can, you know, I guess move this guy around and attack them. We'll see how this goes, won't we? And obviously the light cavalry has to just come back, don't they? They just have to come and show off. The good thing about this is the fact that I'm pretty sure your own units don't, yeah, your own units don't block you from moving. Now, obviously if you do something like this where they actually hit boxes inside of them, and they do block you from moving, but other than that, they don't block you from moving, which is really nice. Because the enemy units most definitely do have a hitbox, and they definitely do prevent you from moving. And yeah, that's something you have to account for. So yeah, I guess fantasy stories in a fantasy world would be really interesting. Like, what sort of fantasy stories would they have? Now, would it just be like our ordinary world? You know, a world coming to your cinemas this Christmas. A world where magic doesn't exist and the wizards have to work a 9-to-5 job. You know, stuff like that. But what would their fantasy world be? An even more, crazy fantasy world, or, you know, can there be a fantasy world above a fantasy world? Now, obviously, there's low fantasy, there's medium fantasy, and then there's high fantasy. Low fantasy is basically stuff like, I don't know, what is a low fantasy? I guess it's like Percy Jackson, that's a low fantasy. But even it has some high fantasy elements. So Percy Jackson wouldn't exactly be a low fantasy. It's really, I don't know. What is low fantasy? I guess high fantasy is a lot more common, where you have like Lord of the Rings, where you just have like straight up wizards and they're throwing fireballs and magical spells everywhere. And then you obviously have the big bad and stuff like that. So that's your classical fantasy world. Well, I'm really upset by these Dread Knights. Like, they're really not pushing their own weight, I guess. Because, what was that previous attack they made? I mean, these undead over here are doing a better job than the Dread Knights. Like, seriously, come on. The Dread Knights really need to start getting some hits off. Obviously, the only good thing is the fact that they have a Divine Favor, and that's obviously helping them just so much. Well, we got really lucky with the Light Cav. The Light Cav got really unlucky getting a 9 over there. Because that was... 7 is a perfectly normal, discipline save. So, yeah, the Foot Knights are losing to the Skeleton, Skeleton Warriors, even though, stat-wise, the Foot Knights are just so much better than the Skeleton Warriors. It's not even close. Now, the Skeleton Warriors are absolutely trash. It's not even a competition. Let's look. 5 defense to 3 defense, 4 skill to 2 skill. Like, the fact that the Skeleton Warriors are even still holding their ground is absolutely crazy. And the fact that the Imperial Spears are just somehow holding their ground against the Dread Knights is also kind of crazy. Like, these low worth units are just absolutely demolishing the high worth units. I guess that's something to keep in mind. Yeah, sure, why not? Why not have just an absolute trash tier unit just go to head with something that's supposed to be the top of the line, I guess, for the human units. But I guess the human units do have kind of like a more average, I guess, spread in their units roster. None of their units are outlandishly strong, They don't have the single entities of the Lizardmen that have like 10 defense and 10 discipline. And they most definitely don't have the morale of the undead, where they just don't rout. But they do definitely have like a good middle ground. Definitely not the unit quantity of the Ratmen or anything like that. And definitely not the archer power of the, I guess, dwarfs. Dwarfs have the best archers in the game, no doubt. Quite literally best archers. Not best archers, but best ranged. Because the archer units in this game are just not worth it, in my opinion. They're just kind of meh. They're okay. I mean, it's nothing to write home about. Man, I can't afford a dragon. I can afford the Vampire Knight though. Yeah, sure, why not? Get double Vampire Knights. Well, guess Weight Lords. No, yeah, I guess Vampire Knight is different from a Weight Lord because it's a hybrid. I mean, but generally just melee lords, I guess. That's the general gist of it. Just have 2 guys in melee, why not? That's why I want it, I guess, say. But, I just made it overly complicated. Right, then let's see what happens over here. I'm pretty sure I can skip some turns to see what the enemies do, because they do have a larger army than we do. The main thing we'll here will be getting some side charges off, and then we'll see how that goes from there. Now, this is my lord over here. I'm really not, really don't want to get into melee fights right now, so I'm just going to do something like this. Give the movement to the Vampire Knights and see what the enemies do. I really just want to be getting side charges off, really, if I'm being honest. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. And then where's my Vampire Knight? So that's him over here. Okay, right. So I gave him, yeah, I gave this guy the speed bonus. Okay, that's fine. Whatever, it'll do fine. I mean, at least it'll allow me to fire off some shadow bolts off on the trolls. I mean, they do have 5 defense. Man, shadow ball is such a bad spell. I wish I had a fireball instead. I'd rather be gambling over here with fireball than just using shadow ball. It's so bad. I mean, like, it's 4 power. It's the same as a fireball at this point. Like, why would you ever get shadow ball? It's so bad. No, I guess I can do like front charge over here and maybe a side charge over here. What other things can I talk about a fantasy world, Weapons, I guess. How would weapons develop, Would weapons stagnate? Which is, I feel like that's a really common trope in Fantasy World, where you have like a high-tech, I guess system. So you have like inbuilt like taps and stuff like that into buildings, but most of them are magic powered, where like magic almost takes over the world of physics. Then you can also have some physics in there as well. So it's all like a really common trope within these I guess novels on the internet. Like mangas and stuff like that, like where you mix like a fantasy world with like an artificer class or something like that, where like they build taps and stuff like that using gravity, or basically recreate the real world stuff with magic. So but I feel like that would be like really common. Like the first thing that a wizard is going to do with their fireball power is give themselves a warm bath. I feel like that's what's going to happen like day one. So I don't know what to do with this guy in the massive unit over here. I guess I could try to charge him in over here into these goblin mob, but we'll see, won't we? I guess the trolls are going to be fighting the skeleton spears for quite a while. It's really awkward because it's going to be just an awkward side charge, isn't it? Anyway, whatever. I'm surprised that this isn't a side charge. Like, whoever said this wasn't a side charge is absolutely crazy. Because this should definitely be a side charge. Like, come on. This is a side charge. Let's change charges to reflect better what they actually are. This should definitely be a side charge now. Like, come on. Oh, up, side charge. Up, side charge. Side charge. Side charge. We'll see, won't we? Hopefully I can get a side charge in over here. Okay, that's fine. I don't care what the Vampire Knight charges into. He's the Vampire Knight. He'll do fine in anything. So, I mean, pretty sure. Do Vampire Knights? I don't think they're considered undead, so I'm pretty sure they're Vault. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they don't have the bonus of the internal veins. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not undead. So they don't reanimated. Yeah, they're not undead. So obviously they Vault instead. Okay, so they're in a unit that doesn't Vault, but they themselves do Vault. I wonder how that works. What would happen if? Would we have separate roles? Or would it just be the undead unit taking damage until none were left, at which point the Vampire Knight himself would have to take morale checks? How would that work? So yeah, there we go. So I guess we're taking fumbling damage. And then I guess once all the undead are gone, there'll be morale checks for the Weight Lord. Okay, right then, yeah, I guess that makes more sense, I guess. Because, the undead can now survive without their unit. The lords are no longer attached to their unit, so I was just wondering how that works. So it's, I guess, interesting. I guess I can... Yeah, I'm going to have to ping-pong between this goblin unit and the trolls, so we'll see how this goes, won't we? Fortunately, I can't exactly help out the skeleton warriors against the war chief, because, unfortunately, these Dread Knights are just not there yet. It's really interesting. I guess university lectures are going to be a lot more interesting if you literally have, like, Albert Einstein constantly in the lecture. I guess... I guess the smartest people in the world could just become like liches or something like that, or weight lords, and then they could just continue teaching stuff. I guess. I mean, I guess biggest problem in a society like that would obviously be magic, because like when you have magic, why would you do anything else when it's just a lot easier and cheaper to just use magic? Now, why would anyone invent a car when you could just, increase the speed of a carriage with some runes on it? Or maybe just get a faster horse. Like get a unicorn instead. Like, that's a really interesting concept, I guess. Get rid of the stronger unit, the trolls, because I'm pretty sure they're worth more in the balance of power. So we'll see how this goes. I feel like, magic would be a double-edged sword. I wonder if this guy's gonna die if he routs. Somehow we're still taking these crumbling rolls. Even though, they dealt so much damage to that single unit that we're still taking crumbling rolls. Well, and then they go the routing. Do they take replenishment even when they rout? They do. They do. Why? That's my only question. Why do they take replenishment when they rout? That's such an odd choice. Oh well, whatever. I really have to make them rout off the field. Like, seriously, this is a bit ridiculous. The enemies have such a massive army still as well. This is going to be such a problem. I can only hope that I deal enough damage to like fully get rid of them. This is a bit ridiculous. They got nope. Yeah. Obviously they don't. Obviously they've run away. if you get a side charge and a rear charge and they're out from there. But I was just hoping that, you know, because earlier we had like a unit charge them from the front, and now we had a rear charge that they might, you know, fully get destroyed. But no, that's not the case. Okay, I see. I guess charge into the back of the enemy war chief, try to deal that 1 damage, try to get through. I mean, what else am I supposed to do? I guess I don't have anything else to do. So yeah, we'll see. I'll charge these orc brutes in the back, and hopefully that'll be enough to fully, I guess, kill them. We'll see. Now the good thing is, I was about to say the good thing is we have divine protection, and that obviously prevents them from getting too many hits off on us, and it probably did stop them from getting a lot of hits off on us, but it still got like an entire unit down. Well, I guess an entire model, I guess that's the correct terminology. Got rid of an entire model. So I guess I'll charge my lord in against the goblins. Let's see how this goes, won't we? Yeah, just do something that's cool. And then, yeah, we'll see if we get side charge or not. I don't think there's any space for that unit of, you know, brutes to charge in. But you never know. I guess there is space now because that brute unit is basically gone. Wow, that's a lot of damage coming in on the Weight Lord. Wow. Okay, yeah, that's a lot of damage there. I could get a side charge off, so that's what I'm going to do on the orc brutes. Just because we'll prevent them from attacking this poor lone skeleton with spearmen. I guess a fun story would also be in a fantasy world where, like, I guess, what would the, you know, like, stupid shows like, you know, I guess magic tricks. Would there be like a lot of skepticism for magic tricks and other shows that show optical illusions? What would optical illusions even be classified as? Would people just classify that as magic? And then you'd have like a really smart person come out and say, "But wait, no, it's not magic, because you see, it's a trickery of your eyes." Like how would the optical illusions work in the magical world? You know, that sounds like a really interesting concept, because you know. Yeah, in a world where everyone just considers everything to just be magical, how would that work? Or would people just be like, yeah, it's an optical illusion? Would it be really that anticlimactic? Or, you know, how would like news and media spread? Would it be a lot similar to our modern day world, or how would that be? Anyway, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.